Furthermore, the rhetorical presidency is about political mobilization, which leads to crisis politics. Now, presidential public appeals do little to persuade the public. Instead, they are used to mobilize people into action. So the rhetorical presidency is about rallying mass political action and public mobilization for change. Political mobilization supersedes deliberation. Now, because it's about political mobilization as opposed to liberation, politicians use crisis rhetoric to get people active. They use the daily operation of government are described with alarm and exaggeration, and the presidential rhetoric is filled with character attacks, polarization, and emotional hot-button appeals. Additionally, the opponents of the president's policies also use their emotional hot-button appeals, and the public hears all these polarization and high political urgency that they are disillusioned and they are fatigued by all of this crisis rhetoric. Additionally, the rhetorical presidency promotes demagoguery in that it amplifies one individual's personal influence. In fact, presidents have become quasi-religious figures. They use demagogic techniques to increase their popularity, such as flattery and oratory and inflammatory appeals, and they follow the opinions of the public to see what they want, rather than doing what is good for the public. And rather than trying to bring conciliation and common rhetoric, they want to spread division. They would use rhetoric like class warfare. Now I want to read this long quote to you from author James Caesar about demagogues, and I think this is quite interesting. He says, "Demagogues are interested in decision-making or governing only incidentally. They favor such stock demagogic measures as schemes to redistribute wealth," which sounds familiar, "merely because they expect these policies to win favor with the public. Demagoguery per se, in its pure sense, is at best indifferent to the goodness of the policies it promotes, which is not to deny that some demagogues may sincerely believe in the goodness of some of their policies. Yet because achieving the public good in politics is often difficult and rarely wins immediate approval, demagoguery will usually, although not always, miss the mark." So, what does this mean for 2008 and the election of Barack Obama? Now, one may suggest that Barack Obama, in fact, is a great illustration of the rhetorical presidency. Now, I am basing this on the fact that of his candidacy. Now, he has not served as president, so I will assume that how he's acted as a candidate will foreshadow how he acted as a president. Now, his speeches are predominantly filled with sound bites. His policy initiatives are wrapped in a moral cloak of slogans and symbols. He dazzles people with his rhetoric, as he knows what to say and how to say it. And he uses his slogan of change more as a rhetorical device than an established policy agenda. USA Editorial Today says, "Most of what we do know about Obama involves style more than substance. He's a charismatic speaker." Now, a Weekly Standard writer wrote that, indeed, Obama is the finest orator in recent political memory. But he also says that there is a hollowness in his rhetoric and that his rhetoric does not translate into action. He, for example, talks about his frequent present votes in the Illinois State Senate and his failure to do anything in a bipartisan manner. Also, he has a very mediocre record in the Senate. He hasn't passed any substantial legislation, and he has not taken any leadership roles. Another author wrote that, quote, "There is a huge and deceptive gap between his captivating oratory and his actual views." He criticizes his use of change as being a shallow campaign slogan rather than a serious idea. His eloquence has hypnotized the media and the public, yet his agenda is, quote, "completely ordinary, highly partisan, not candid, and mostly unresponsive to the many pressing national problems." So the public has overlooked Obama's short resume and his simplistic rhetoric because they like his engaging stage presence. They like his style over his substance, and they like what Dr. Dunn calls an entertainer in chief. So what must Obama do? His campaign slogan, "Change We Can Believe In," was very successful, which no one can deny. Yet, he must now define the specifics of change. He must define a specific vision for America and how he will implement it. His soundbite speeches will not do him any good once he enters the White House. He must deliver on the numerous promises that he made. Now, Americans are disillusioned with the polarization in Washington, D.C. They're disillusioned with the character attacks, the empty rhetoric of politicians, and their failed promises. In short, they're disillusioned with the rhetorical presidency. So, if Obama really is the change candidate, what he should do, I suggest, is get rid of the mass army of speechwriters, consultants, and strategists that got him elected. If he really wants to change Washington, he must promote rational deliberation. He must defer to Congress rather than relying on public appeals and emotional manipulative rhetoric. Especially since the Democrats control Congress as well, he can more easily defer to Congress on issues of policy making. He must use backdoor persuasion and quiet leadership and persuasion. He is entering the White House with high expectations, which he must consider, being that he has set himself up for mass disillusionment. So he must set modest goals and clearly articulate how to reach them. Now, if he really truly is a true candidate of change, he should question the effectiveness and the wisdom of the rhetorical presidency and challenge the progressive assumptions that social reform comes about through government, through Congress, let alone the president. Obama must lay aside his ambition and partisan politics and serve the public good. And finally, as a columnist wrote, you can win elections by promising people what they want, but you can win your place in history by doing what the country needs done. Thank you.
How'd that go?